The WP MRR WordPress podcast is brought to you by WP Buffs. WP Buffs manages WordPress websites 24/7 and powers digital growth for agencies, freelancers, and WordPress professionals. Join our white label program, and by next week, you could be offering 24/7 white label website support to your clients and passively growing your monthly recurring revenue. Or become a WP Buffs affiliate to earn 10% monthly payouts every month for the lifetime of every client. And finally, if you're looking to sell your WordPress business or website, check out the WP Buffs acquisition unit. Learn more about all three at WPBuffs.com.
Yo, good people. Welcome back to the WP MRR WordPress podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Harry Potter.
And you're listening to the WordPress Business Podcast. We've got Harry Potter on the podcast this week. What's up, Harry?
And not much, man. Enjoying a nice Thursday in Orlando. The hurricane didn't really do much. It was a lot of preparing for nothing. So feeling pretty good.
Oh, nice. So you're in Orlando. So you just had kind of a close shave, I guess. But it was a little bit, obviously pretty bad in some places. But Orlando didn't get hit too hard?
No, rain for a few hours, a little bit of wind. Yesterday was like a fall day. I'm from Massachusetts. It was kind of like being up north for a day. I got to walk the dogs when it wasn't 100 degrees out, and yeah, it was good.
Nice, solid, cool. All right, we got Harry Potter on the podcast this week, also known as Nathan Hirsch. Nathan, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about what you do in the WordPress space?
Yeah, so I'm a longtime entrepreneur. I started back in 2008 and I scaled an e-commerce business, and I scaled it using virtual assistants and freelancers. I got pretty good at it, and I always just wanted a better, faster way than the Upworks and the Fibers. So 3 years ago, I created my own platform, FreeUp, where we get thousands of applicants every week. We vet them for skill, attitude, communication. Top 1% get on the platform, and then we make them available to people quickly whenever they need them. On the back end, 24/7 support in case they have even the smallest issue, and a no turnover guarantee. If someone quits for any reason, we cover replacement costs. So that's what our marketplace is all about, the pre-vetting, the speed, the customer service, and the protection. Obviously, we have a lot of WordPress developers and developers in general on the platform, and we work with lots of clients that have that for their own site. The FreeUp site is in WordPress, although the back end is much more complex. We do a good amount with WordPress.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so you started doing your own WooCommerce site before you kind of jumped into FreeUp stuff, and you hired some freelancers and contractors along the way. What were you selling? What was your e-commerce store all about?
So I started off with books, and I was competing with my school bookstore, and I created a referral program. Before I knew it, there were lines out the door of people trying to get me sell me their books, to the point where I got a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off. So my parents were teachers. I didn't want to get kicked out of college, so I tried experimenting with other stuff that I was really into, like sporting equipment, video games, computers, typical college guy stuff. And I just failed over and over and over. The only thing I could get to sell were these books. And it wasn't until I branched out of my comfort zone and found the baby product industry that my business really took off. So if you can imagine me as a 20-year-old single college guy selling millions of dollars of baby products on Amazon, that was me.
Gotcha. Nice. And building this business kind of when you were younger, you obviously kind of gained some experience to get you to where you are now, running FreeUp. So you've hired freelancers, you've hired people along the way to help you, maybe not necessarily full-time, all of them. Some people may need more hours, but some people only need for a few hours a week, or 10, 20 hours a month, something like that. So how were you at doing that when you started this e-commerce business?
I was 20 when I started, and I tried hiring people in person. One of my first hires was actually this guy in my business law class. I didn't even interview him. I hired him, and he was an amazing hire. Hardworking, smart. He's my business partner today. We've been working together for 8 years. So I hit the jackpot right from the beginning. And then I just proceeded to make bad hire after bad hire after bad hire, quickly learning how tough it was to hire people in person. And that's when I went the remote hiring route. And you're right. I didn't need people full time. I needed a graphic designer here and a listing person there. But then I also had full-time roles like customer service and filling orders. It was all drop shipping. And this was before Amazon software. So there was a lot of manual work. And yeah, I just went more and more towards the remote hiring space. I love the flexibility. I ended up opening up an office and quickly getting rid of it, realizing I had made a mistake and going back to that remote world. And the FreeUp really started because I built this really good hiring process. Took me 4 or 5 years. I had some great freelancers in my Rolodex, so to speak, and I started offering them to other businesses. Hey, you need a graphic designer? I got your guy right here. They would just email me. I'd introduce them. I spent about $5,000 on this software that was a minimal viable product. People could clock in, clock out. Clients could see freelancers on their side, and that was it. And we'd introduce them to freelancers, and they loved it. They didn't have to spend 2 weeks posting jobs and going through applicants. They knew we backed it up. And then we ran out of freelancers, and we had to start recruiting it and really building out the platform. So that was really the beginning.
Cool. Recruiting freelancers. How, maybe at this point, FreeUp, I guess, is somewhat well known in the WordPress space now. So, maybe people are coming to you and applying, so you get applications in the door now. But when you started doing FreeUp, what was the solution to getting people and having freelancers come find you to set themselves up on the platform?
Referrals. I mean, now we get about 2,000 applicants a week to get on our platform, but a lot of it is referrals. I mean, we got, from the beginning, freelancers really liked it because they don't really like competing against 50 people for every post on Upwork and Fiverr anyway. So we'd bring clients to them quickly. That we had a fast hire platform where people would do 5, 10, 15-minute interviews and get started right away. They love that. We created a program where you get 50 cents for every hour we bill, or anyone we refer bills forever. And same thing on the client side, any client you refer. So people started telling their friends, telling their freelance communities, their Facebook groups. I got invited on podcasts, and it really took off from there. But that's how we got the referrals and the recruitment off the ground.
Yeah, cool. So it seems to me, it's funny, I was just talking about someone about this yesterday, that there sites like this exist where you kind of have two pools of people. You have the people who are doing the hiring, who need to, find a freelancer, and then you have the freelancers who are looking for work. When you started FreeUp, was there like an issue where you were like, you had to figure out which side you were going to work on first? Were you like, did you decide to go and get freelancers to, just sign up, maybe as for the free account to attract businesses? Or was it kind of the other way around? You were looking for businesses, or was it both at once? What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right. Whenever you have a marketplace, you have both sides, and then you have the software that holds it all together too. So you're kind of like balancing everything. It's funny, there was some point last year around the third quarter where for the first time in FreeUp's about 4 years old, we were like really low on freelancers. But outside of that, we've been like pretty well balanced. And I mean, we just spent money on recruitment and advertising and all that, and we fixed that pretty quick. The cool thing about freelancers is it's not perfect inventory, right? It's not like you have 2,000 products you got to get out of your warehouse. Like these freelancers, they're getting projects outside FreeUp. They're not exclusive to us. They have projects that start and stop, and just because they're booked up one day, that client could disappear the next day. So we always want more freelancers, and the freelancers are okay if we have a slow week, like week after Labor Day, even though it's actually kind of been a busy week, but it's not your typical week. If things are slow here and there, they're kind of used to that. That's part of like the freelancer lifestyle. So for us, we always want to have more supply than demand. I mean, if a client comes to us and they're like, hey, we want a WordPress developer, and we say, hey, we're out of WordPress developers, that client, it's probably not coming back. But if we have too many WordPress developers, those people, if they're good, we'll find clients elsewhere as well. So for us, we always tend to lean more on the supply side.
I buy that. I think that makes sense. You mentioned the front end of FreeUp is built on WordPress, but the back end is a little bit more complex. What's the back end built with? And I guess kind of a secondary question to that is, I'm not sure how technical you are, but is this something that you built, or did you have some of your freelancers and contractors help out to build it?
I am not technical. My business partner is. He handles all the developers. So the back end is Node.js. I'm sure it's a bunch of other languages like JavaScript and stuff in there too. But the way we did it is like we have our WordPress site. You can go through the pricing, which is like ballpark pricing. It's got the About Us. It's got all the information there, all the different pages. And it's got our blog, which is also a WordPress site. But then if you click log in, it actually redirects you to what we call time clock, FreeUp time clock. So that's in Node.js. That you have a login, and it's kind of like a slick redirect to a more intense software where people can put in requests. There's a ticketing system. They can view the freelancers or profiles, the affiliate programs there, all the billings there. So it's a lot more stuff that you probably wouldn't be able to do in WordPress. But the WordPress makes us look nice. And the cool thing that we did on the back end was we moved Node to Storyblock. And again, I'm talking out of the limited information that I know, which essentially makes it so we can edit our time clock like a WordPress site, and we don't have to have the developers go and change every little thing. My business partner, who's an expert at WordPress, he can go in and just adjust Storyblock depending on what we want to do.
I'm on the site now. It's freeup.com, FREEE up.com. To me, the thing that really shined out is something you already mentioned here, but it's the top 1%, how you're really looking at the top 1% of applicants to accept onto the platform. Was that kind of the baseline of the business model when you started? Were you kind of like Upwork, you can go and do the same thing you can do on FreeUp, but we just want to kind of just focus more on more of the elite freelancers and kind of take away the 99% of noise and say, okay, our community and our platform is similar to Upwork. It's just kind of the premium version of it. Was that kind of, was that the foundation of the business model, or was it a bit more complex?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation was we don't accept everyone. It's just the best of the best. We're just a marketplace for experienced freelancers, and that we vet people for skill, attitude, and communication. That's always been the core of our hiring. We think that, I know that if you just hire people for skill, you get burned all the time. There are people that are just not good to work with, even though they're talented. So for skill, we don't need everyone to be a 10 out of 10. Someone can be a 5 out of 10. Someone can be a 3 out of 10. What we care about is that they're honest about what they can and cannot do, and they're priced accordingly. So we have skill tests we put them through. Then we have attitude. Attitude is so important. We do one-on-one interviews. We want people who can take feedback and not get aggressive. We want people who are passionate about what they do. If I hire a WordPress developer, I want them to love developing WordPress sites just like I love being an entrepreneur on that level. And we also know that not every client is rainbows and butterflies, right? Well, you're going to deal with tough clients out there. So we want people who will be the bigger man, the bigger woman, that'll be more professional, that doesn't get aggressive the second something doesn't go their way. So all that goes into attitude. And then communication's everything. If I hire you, Joe, and you have a great skill set and a great attitude, but you and I can't communicate, it's not going to go very well. So communication, we have 15 pages of communication best practices that freelancers have to memorize and get tested on before they get on our platform. And once they're on our platform, we hold them to those same expectations. We're not a place to experiment new things on our clients. If someone's taking on requests that they can't do at a high level, if they're showing signs of bad attitude, if they're not communicating, if my team has to chase them, if clients have to chase them, if they're missing due dates, if personal issues are interfering with work, we're very quick to block them from getting more clients or remove them from our platform. Now, the top 1% thing, that wasn't a day one thing. I think that came a year down the line. We kind of just looked at the numbers on what we were taking, and it came out to roughly 1%. So we did that, and if we get bigger and we need to change it to 2% or 3%, we're always going to be honest with our community on what it is. I don't think that what the exact percentage is a big part of our selling point, but as of right now, I mean, we do let in 1 out of every 100 applicants.
For the communication piece, I think that's huge. I feel like I've done a lot of hiring myself in my role, and I've made definitely a few mistakes along the way. And a lot of those mistakes were hiring someone with great technical skill, but not with great, I guess I'd say communication skill, but that was just kind of part of it. It wasn't great soft skills. It wasn't great communication, more focused on getting their own job done and not as focused on the team's results. Those kind of things were definitely didn't work out after hiring people who just didn't have those skills. So it's cool that you're focusing not just on the technical skill, but across, all aspects of what, someone who's needs to do a job and add value to a business should do. Yeah. The mistakes that people make when hiring, especially part-time people, are, I'm sure you've seen them across the board. And there are a lot of agencies and freelancers listening to this podcast who maybe they're starting to think about hiring. Maybe they have a few members on the team, but maybe it's a better option instead of to hire full-time people to go and hire some part-time people for some smaller tasks, or maybe even to start someone off as a part-time person, maybe move them to full-time eventually. But I guess I want to ask what some of the big mistakes you've seen from people who are trying to hire freelancers and end up being unsuccessful.
Yeah, and let's talk about it more in the sense of a developer. I mean, not giving test projects before you jump into the big thing. I'll see clients who will hire someone for a 30-page website, and the guy will take a few weeks, a month, whatever it is, and then the website's not the way they wanted, and they realize they can't work with that person. Where a better approach is hire them to build one page, give them feedback, make sure they can adjust to your feedback and that it goes good. Give them 2 more pages, repeat, give them 3 more pages, break it down a little bit more. And yeah, if you like, I have a graphic designer that I've been working with for a year and on and off different projects. I trust her. She knows what I want. I'll give her bigger projects, but you got to build that trust little by little. I think a big part of it too is setting expectations, getting on the same page with the scope, the due date, not just the due time, but the due time zone. Hey, it's due next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Get it in writing. Don't turn it into a he said, she said down the line where both of you are talking about a phone call from 3 weeks ago that neither of you really remember. What is included in the scope? What's not included in the scope? I think a lot of freelancers go wrong, and we have a lot of best practices for freelancers. They're not really rules of our platform. They're just best practices that is advice from us to help them have success with clients where, hey, if a client gives you a scope and you agree and you get it all in writing and a client wants to throw more and more and add the scope and push the limit, don't just keep going with it. Pause work, take a step back, get on the same page, give any new pricing, any new due dates, make sure you're good, and only then proceed forward with work. And a lot of times you'll see that clients will just keep pushing, freelancers keep giving, and then it just blows up into a huge mess. So getting on the same page on what's included and what's not included is huge. And there's also some level of diversifying that's important. I remember I made a big mistake back in the day of hiring one person to really run my whole business. I spent 6 months training him and he did everything. He was a rock star. I could sleep better at night as an entrepreneur. He quit on me while I was on vacation one week, and it was devastating. It took me months to recover, and I had to diversify. I had to find 2 people for customer service, 1 person for listing, 1 person for repricing, and the next time someone quit, it wasn't that big of a deal. So WordPress is getting easier and easier. There's a lot of VAs that can do WordPress, but they can also do social media. They can also do customer service. Don't fall into that trap of hiring's hard. You make some bad hires. You finally find someone you like and you load them up with everything that's going to put your business at risk. You want to diversify as much as possible. That doesn't mean you have to go crazy with it. If you get 20 emails a day, you don't have to hire 5 customer service reps, but within reason, diversify for your business and protect yourself.
Yeah, I like also you said about giving bite-sized projects. That's something I feel like a lot of people like they'll do, they'll start off small, but then they'll immediately jump to, like 30 pages or like 50 pages, like go and do this. Like I'll check on you next week. And that's maybe something you can do once you've worked with someone for a month or 3 months or 6 months. Once you've gotten to know them and like if you give them that project, it'll get done by that due date because you've already tested them with 1 page and then 3 pages and then 5 pages and worked your way up to 50 as opposed to just going straight from, 0 to 50 in one foul swoop. Yeah. Remote teams. Yeah. Go ahead.
I got one thing that actually happened today. So, and the freelancer didn't do anything wrong here. A client was on our platform. He was using the platform for the first time, and it was a $5,000 project. I'm pretty sure it was a WordPress site, or some website. I wasn't really involved in the details of the project, but he's a developer. So you can do hourly or fixed price on our platform. If you do hourly, they get paid by the hour. Our billing periods are Wednesday to Tuesday. We charge the client every Thursday, and they have a week to dispute anything before we pay the freelancer that Thursday. But once that dispute period's over, we pay the freelancer. You can't dispute any longer. Obviously, we're going to, within reason, make the client happy, but it's not fair to us or the freelancer for a client to come in and say, oh, the past 3 months, I'm disputing it. It's like, no, you had your dispute period. Now, we also have fixed price on the platform where we'll charge you up front. So if it's a $5,000 project, we'll charge you $5,000 up front, and we'll hold that money in escrow. And you can release it by milestone. You can release it at the end. You can figure all that out, whatever you want to do. So a client was a few $1,000s into that $5,000 project. He's been billing hourly. He's 3 weeks in. He's getting a little concerned because he's like, I'm paying all this money. I haven't seen any results yet. And with that, we obviously recommend doing fixed price because it makes more sense for that type of project. And the freelancer didn't do anything wrong. He was a little bit newer to the platform too. He was doing the work. He wasn't planning on manipulating the client or anything like that, but we moved it over to a fixed price project. The client felt a little bit better. We're holding the money. The freelancer even feels a little bit better because he knows we had that money there. And that way you don't run into something where we build someone for 6 weeks and they're not happy with the end result. And then you have to backdate and it's a whole mess. So just knowing when you should hire people hourly for maybe more ongoing work or whether you should do something fixed price, especially with newer freelancers.
Yeah, gotcha. Any advice on like when you should be going hourly and when you should be going like a fixed rate project? Is there any kind of separation there? Or is it really just kind of context dependent?
The bigger the project, the more I'm doing fixed price for me personally. It also depends how much ongoing work there is and what that relationship is. If I'm doing a larger project with a new person, I'm pretty much always doing fixed price. If I'm doing larger project with someone that I've been working with a while, it could go either way. If it's more consistent work, it also depends on their hourly rate too. If I'm dealing with someone in the Philippines and their hourly rate is $5 to $10 an hour, probably not doing fixed price. Like I'm going to go week to week with that. If it's someone in the US and I'm paying $75 an hour, I'm going to feel more comfortable with fixed price. So definitely in context, definitely depends on the exact situation. You want to err on the side of caution. And yeah, that's kind of my advice.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That to do a huge project hourly means, the projection you have is never exactly how long it's going to take. It's just a projection. So if it ends up taking, 20% longer, that's, could fall far outside your budget. And honestly, the bigger the project, the more you should have a good grasp of exactly what's needed in the project. And it kind of makes sense to have more of a project-based pricing because you're like, this is what we're doing. Here's how much it costs. Let's go for it. I wanted to actually kind of go back. This is kind of like going off the rails a little bit, but you mentioned, I think towards the beginning of when we started talking here, that you have kind of a technical buddy or a technical co-founder, I guess, someone who you worked with who's kind of the technical arm of things. I know a lot of people, including myself, who are non-technical founders of businesses, but who are always interested in how to meet their technical co-founder or like what environment they can put themselves in order to, found a technical business without necessarily themselves being technical. I think you mentioned that you two met in college, but I just wanted to go back over that and just kind of see if we could dive into that a little more.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm the best person to give advice on how to find your partner. I kind of mentioned the story before where he was in my business law class. He shot me a message. I didn't interview him.
Business
I hired
law
him,
class.
And then I eventually made him my partner. I mean, it's not a bad way to go, hiring someone, working with them for a little while, and then making them a business partner. That's kind of how I did it. And it's almost one of those things I almost feel like I got lucky and I'm like scared to add another partner because we've all heard those horror stories. It's like, Connor, you and I have been working well together for 10 years. Let's not mess this up. So that's kind of where it's at. I'll also add, while he's technical when it comes to WordPress, he's not technical when it comes to other coding. And he kind of taught himself to do WordPress in the past, 4 or 5 years. When I first met him, he didn't know what WordPress was. So that kind of more developed over time too. Finding anyone technical, working with people technical is tough. I mean, I wouldn't make a business partner technical. I wouldn't make a technical person a business partner until I work with them for a while. I mean, developers, they disappear, they go over estimates, they some of them, and I hate putting everyone in generalities, but my experience working with developers, and we have a dev partner who has a small percent equity in the business, and he's kind of like the third person. He works part-time, he's got a full-time job, and he kind of does behind the scenes stuff, but he doesn't understand business as well as Connor and I. So it's tough for me to have a business relationship with someone that doesn't understand all the things that go on in a business. And for me to lock myself up with this person is tough to do. And we kind of have a separate arrangement where he makes money if we were to sell FreeUp, and I won't go too much details into that, but it's a little bit different than a standard partnership. So just stuff to keep in mind. The last thing you want to do is have this great idea, you add in a technical partner, you give them equity in the company that you can't take back, and all of a sudden you realize that they're not the right fit, that they don't have the same vision, they don't understand the business mindset behind it, and that can be a tough position to put yourself in.
Yeah, I totally hear that. As a non-technical founder myself who brought on Nick as our COO, and man, he's stellar. COO is not even saying enough of like what his real position is, because he's kind of our COO and our CTO. But yeah, I mean, we met because I hired him for a totally different role, and he totally just grew into this kind of, almost second in command. I wouldn't even say second in command. I'd say like in command. So yeah, but I think that makes a lot of sense. This is something I feel like a lot of people, it's hard to give advice on, because there's so few scenarios that I've seen where, like, and someone more business centric meets someone who's technical, and then a week later they've started a business and it's all of a sudden successful. Like a lot of the time it's just like someone you've known for a long time, or you just happen to work together a little bit with, and like you've kind of known over the last little while, and it just kind of happens organically. So my advice for that kind of stuff is always like, I tell people like, start going to WordCamps now, like start going to a conference here and there, like get involved in the community, because that's how you find, co-founders or technical people. Like that's a big help, just to be visible in the space and part of it, so that when you hire someone, you don't have to go out and do the hiring. You just kind of have your network of people around and can say like, hey, I'm looking for someone to help with this, and know anybody? And that's often a good way to do it.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, man, finding a partner is so tough. That trust factor just has to be there, even if they're not a technical founder there. I mean, it's good to work with them, like do some projects together, hire them, like you said, like figure some stuff out, and make sure that you can actually work together. And I mean, everything's good when the business is going good, right? If you guys are growing, you guys are making money, it's easy to grab a beer and be all buddy. But what do you do when you have a bad week, a bad month, a bad quarter, problems come up, issues comes up, one of you makes a mistake, which is bound to happen. And actually, one of the best business advice, I went to Baby Bathwater this year, which is a great networking event on an island in Croatia. And I heard this, it was if you want to be a good business partner, you have to have the mentality that you can never say, I told you so. It's like one person has one way to go. The other person might have a different opinion. Neither of you really know what the right answer is. It could be a third thing. It could be one of them. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision, and you're going to have to go with that decision 100%. And no matter what happens with that decision, you can't back up and say, oh, I wanted the other thing. It told you so. You shouldn't have done it. If you are doing that, that partnership is not going to work out. So, I mean, Connor and I, we're all entrepreneurs together. I mean, you know this, like you're making up as you go along. You're getting as much information as possible. You're trying to make the best decisions with everyone's interest and heart. And hopefully it works out that way. Sometimes it doesn't. You make tons of failures, tons of bad decisions along the way, and you have to be able to learn from them and move on quickly without playing the blame game.
Yeah, totally. I always just say, I'm just stumbling successfully, man. People always say like, what are you doing? What's the secret to success? You stumble successfully. That's all this is. Don't let it fool you. Baby bathwater. I never heard of that, but I looked it up because I was like, did he say baby bathwater? Did I hear that wrong? And I went on the site, and on the homepage of the site, it says, yeah, the name is odd, but don't let that fool you. So it looks like an entrepreneurial conference. Cool. I've been to an island off the coast of Croatia as well for a different kind of event, but so it's funny that you went for this one. Baby bathwater. I'll have to check this out a little bit. All right. Last thing I kind of wanted to touch on was just remote working, remote life. I assume almost all of the people on your platform are hiring and working remotely. Maybe someone happens to be in the same city as someone else. They could meet up and do something, but it looks like FreeUp, the basis is remote work for almost all of these hires. How have you kind of pushed the platform forward, keeping that in mind? And like, what's your take on remote work and how you do it?
So we definitely keep it in mind. We're a platform only for remote work.
Okay.
I mean, just for like even liability reasons, like we don't want someone traveling to someone else. If they do, I mean, there's not that much we can do about it, but we'll turn down tickets. Like we had someone the other day who wanted to hire a real estate assistant to print stuff out and mail it. And although they were probably perfectly legit, that's not really something we do on our platform. So we turn that down. Not all clients are remote. Some of them have offices. I think a lot of them are. All the freelancers are pretty much remote. They might have a co-working space or something like that. I mean, they can be anywhere. They can move in at any given time. We work with a lot of digital nomads, which I think is the coolest thing ever, to just be able to run your business and have no house and travel around the world and all that. I mean, I'm remote. I practice what I preach. This is my home office. I can be anywhere at any given time. I have 45 virtual assistants in the Philippines that I hired from my own platform that do the day-to-day. Other clients could have grabbed them first. And I use about 20 freelancers from my own platform that don't really work for me. I'm just one of their clients. They have clients inside FreeUp, outside FreeUp. They're all remote. So I'm a big proponent of the remote lifestyle. I think everything's kind of going in that direction. I mentioned I opened up an office and I hated it. I kind of felt like I created a 9-to-5 job for myself that I had to drive into every day. And I think that's where everything's going. We live in a pretty amazing time. And I think more and more people are taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I definitely see the advantages of having an office and having in-person interaction. Obviously, it's worked for the majority of like human existence in the modern era. Like that's how work's gotten done. But yeah, we've definitely developed, and now we have these new tools and can do more without necessarily physically being in the same space, for sure. I find that when I'm hiring people, I always have this inkling in the back of my mind of, I want to make sure this person is going to be or maybe I want to say has the right skills to be a solid remote worker. I think a lot of people apply to positions at WP Buffs, and the first reason is because it's remote, because they can work from home, because they can work the hours that they want, which is great. That's what we want to offer people. But I don't want it to be people just applying because they think it's going to be like an easier job because it's remote, because they can hang out at home and do it. How have you, when building FreeUp, and you said, you have this great, vetting process for people. What's the piece of it that's really trying to lock down, like, is this person going to be a solid remote worker, or does this person, because I find some people, they work better in person. Like a lot of my friends like going into an office. Definitely not my thing, but some people like that. They feel like it's more beneficial for them. How does the process of FreeUp work so that you can really find the best workers and the best remote workers?
Yeah, so I actually made a Facebook post about this the other day of why we're just not a marketplace for people that want to try out freelancing. We're a marketplace for experienced freelancing. And it's not like we have anything against them. Everyone deserves an opportunity. Everyone needs to get experience somewhere, but it's got less to do with the skill set and more to do with being a freelancer is hard. When you're a graphic designer, you can do graphic design if you work for another company. But if you're freelancing and you're a graphic designer, you're not just doing graphic design. You're running a business. You're doing the marketing, the lead generation, the finance, the bookkeeping, the customer service, the issue resolution. There's so much that goes into it. And there's also the big time management component. I mean, working from home can be distracting. It's not for everyone. And not everyone can handle that big bucket of being a freelancer. So we don't want you to come on our platform because you're a great graphic designer and you want to try out working from home and take on a bunch of clients, and then you realize it's not for you and you drop them all and we're mad at you and you don't really end up well and the clients don't like it either. I mean, go out there, get some experience, make sure you can actually handle being a freelancer, make sure you can actually handle working from home and being productive and getting stuff done. And then come and apply to the FreeUp platform. And just because you don't get in, doesn't mean you're banned for life. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I dig that. I think that just making that explicit and just separating your platform as not Upwork is like, that's this different differentiator. It's like the freelancers come to us once they're a established freelancer and want to kind of scale that and grow that and really make it what they want to do for work, as opposed to, I'm a full-time employee, but I kind of want to do my own thing. Maybe I should try freelancing. So I dig the way that you differentiate yourself in that. Cool. I think that's a great place to finish things off here. Before we sign off, though, a few notes that I want to go over. Discount code if people want to try FreeUp, freeup.com. If they want to go and they want to find a freelancer, we've got a special deal for them, don't we, Nathan?
Yeah, so it's a WPMRR25. You get a $25 credit to try out the platform. Remember, it's free to sign up. There's no monthly fees. There's no minimums. You can use that $25 credit however you want. If you want a high level or a high price person, low price person, whatever it is. At the top is my calendar. You can book a meeting with me or my team. Where we'd love to talk to you about your business and how we can help. And you can also go to our Facebook group, Outsourcing Masters. We post a lot of great content to help you hire better, smarter, and we're really on your side. We want you to succeed.
Very cool. I'm sure there are a lot of agencies and freelancers out there who right now are saying, I got a lot of stuff on my plate. And, we all know if you have too much stuff on your plate, you're juggling too many things, some things are going to fall through the cracks. So if you need people to do little part-time pieces of your business, that's how you grow, that's how you scale, that's how you make your business less stressful and more efficient. So go check out FreeUp, WPMRR25, little discount for your first, Nathan, is it for your first hire there? Is that where the discount comes in?
Yep. So it'll apply to your first hire. I mean, if you hire someone for $5 an hour for an hour, you still have $20 left. So it's just on your account.
Cool. Where can people find you online? Social media, website, all that jazz?
Yeah, real Nate Hirsch on Instagram and Twitter. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Facebook. Feel free to add me. And yeah, our Facebook group, Outsourcing Masters, is really where the action's at.
Nice. I'm going to join that right after this call. Outsourcing Masters. I'm going to check it out and join you in there. So if you're accepting, please hit the accept button for Joe Howard when you see him come in.
You got it, man. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. Last thing I always like to ask guests to do is to request a little 5-star review from our listeners here. So if you wouldn't mind giving them a little ask for 5-star review, I'd appreciate it.
Everyone that's listening right now, take 30 seconds, go to iTunes, wherever you're listening to the podcast, leave a 5-star review. I know Joe really appreciates it. Helps me out and other guests out as well, get us more exposure, and we'd really appreciate that.
Awesome, man. Thank you. If you're leaving a review, make sure you leave Nathan's name in the comments and something you learned about the episode. We'd love to take a little screenshot, forward it to him, thank him for helping us to get some reviews as well. You can go to WPMRR.com/iTunes, redirects you right there. We'll make it nice and easy for you. If you're a new listener to the WPMRR podcast, you already binge all your favorite TV shows, waste so much time on Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. Why not binge something that will help you move your business forward? We got tons of old episodes and content, dozens of interviews, and Christy and I have done a ton of episodes together. Go through, listen to some old episodes, and help your own business grow by listening to some topics that are very specific to the challenges you're having right now. WPMRR.com/podcast. If you have questions for the show, we would like to do some more Q&A episodes, Christy and I. So shoot us any questions you have at yo@WPMRR.com. We will get back to you and then answer your questions on the podcast. WPMRR.com if you're an agency or freelancer and want to influx your business with a little bit more monthly recurring revenue. Tired of roller coaster months, a lot of revenue one month, none the next month. How do we make it more comfortable? We sell 24/7 care plans. We have open source WP Buffs, and we will teach you how in the video course. Go take advantage of the 75% discount we're doing right now on WPMRR.com. Nathan, thanks again for being on, man. It's been real.
Thank you.
All right, we'll catch y'all next Tuesday. Later.